In this video, we will look at our national real estate market report for 2021. Hey guys, I'm Mac Rogers and this is Living in the East Bay. In this channel, we cover what it's like living in the East Bay, how much does it cost to live here, where do you live here, property tours, local market updates, and also in this video, what is going on in the real estate market on a national level and how does it compare to our local market. While I think most of us are happy to have 2020 in the rear view mirror, the reality is that 2020 set the table for 2021 in the real estate market. Today, we're going to talk about a lot of things that we can expect to see this coming year, as well as a look back at what happened last year to better understand what the future has in store for us. I want to get started with this. The biggest fear last year and moving forward is the fact that are we going to see 2008 all over again? I've made videos comparing 2008 and where we currently are and why this isn't 2008 all over again. From price appreciation to inventory to equity, basically all the things that we know about the real estate market that are factually true to help counter all the negative news and misconception that is out there. If you've watched my channel, you've seen this slide before. We talk about home price change during the last 5 recessions and how recession does not equal a housing crisis. Everybody remembers the housing crisis of 2008 where homes lost 20% or more of their value. In that particular recession, housing was actually the culprit or what started the recession. That's why housing prices went down. But if you look at prior recessions, we see it's just not the case. We have the last 6 recessions to look at. And so when you look at that, we started out the year saying that recession does not necessarily equal a housing crisis. To further hammer or prove this point, guess what? 2020 was a recession year. And now we have last year's numbers that have come from CoreLogic's National Home Price Index showing home prices rose 7.3%. So when you look at that, when you look at these 6 recessions, which is actually 7 now, we can see 5 of the 7 recessions, home prices actually appreciated. So forget about 2008. You know, the truth of this story right now as we kick off 2021 and all the things that has happened in 2020 is that the appreciation of 7.3% has grown home equity. Through the past year, home equity has been critical to people across in this country in a lot of different ways. In ways that they've used it maybe to weather the financial storm, to have the ability to go out and sell their home if they needed to and not be underwater and literally have to go into foreclosure. CoreLogic says this about last year's home equity growth. Quote, over the past year, strong home price growth has created a record level of home equity for homeowners. The average family with a home mortgage loan had $194,000 in home equity in the third quarter, unquote. If you watch my videos, you know that that number before was actually $177,000 average in home equity. That's grown to $194,000 by the third quarter of 2020. Because of this and the moratorium on foreclosures, we are seeing generational low foreclosure rates. And that's what's happening all over the country. You can see it here. Depending on the state where you're in, just how much equity has grown over the past year. The state that I'm in, California, $34,000 on average in home equity growth. We've talked about back in 2008, a lot of the issues that we faced in real estate were because of misuse of home equity, and we're seeing certainly a different story this time. The housing market has been a strong pillar for this down economy. An increase in demand because of low interest rates continues to further grow homeowner equity. Many people are staying in their current home and making improvements to their home, or in some cases, even buying another home. Equity has played a key part in this. Now, looking forward, the most recent home price expectation shows us that over the next 5 years, the average home, a $300,000 home in the US, if purchased today, that homeowner stands to gain $50,000 in appreciation. That equity provides opportunities to people, whether it's to start a business, to send a child to school, to help fund an idea, or something that they've been working on. You know, I tell my clients, don't get hung up on what price you are buying or bought your home. Because number 1, you need shelter. It's a basic need. Number 2, you will be paying a mortgage either way. If you're renting, it's just that you're paying your landlord's mortgage plus his expense and then his profit. Number 3, it's a hedge on inflation. Your payments will never change if you get a fixed rate. As a matter of fact, it can go down if you refinance to a lower rate, just like most of my clients have been doing this past year. As we look back and we look forward, home equity is certainly the benefit of home ownership today. And there are a lot of other non-financial benefits of home ownership. But these financial benefits have gotten stronger through the pandemic for homeowners across the country. I think the question on a lot of people's mind is really what's ahead in 2021. Will we see a continued push into the suburbs as people looking for more space? It may be a little blurry right now, wondering, okay, what's going to happen in the coming year? And a lot of that's going to be dependent upon the coronavirus vaccination. And also with this whole new surge in a work from home environment, people have basically changed how or what they are looking for in their home buying and rental decisions. This is certainly true from what I see in our local market and from my personal clients. People that are working from home, people that may not have to be in the office 5 days a week, and those may not all be people that are strictly working from home. Those are people that may only have to come into the office, a day or two a week, and there are still a lot of questions about that. But this surge is really changing the way people make decisions about where they live. And I think we can expect in 2021 for more of that to become clearer for people. And when it becomes clearer, we either continue on this trajectory or we see another shift. 2021 home price forecast we can see here. If we look it can look anywhere from 2 to 6% from the National Association of Realtors to the Mortgage Bankers Association and everything in between. If we take out the 2 on the end, we see probably between 3 and 4% home price appreciation. So 7.3 appreciation last year, and they're calling for a little less appreciation this year. Mind you, not depreciation but less appreciation. Really, this could mean that there's a sign of more inventory coming in the market, whether that comes from builders or from people putting their homes on the market that didn't last year. Now here for the East Bay, it really depends on what region and what area you live in or buying into. But I feel like it could be more than, it could be around 5% and higher, because the builders around here are actually not building homes that current homeowners would want to upgrade to. Homes with big yards and big lots, they are limited to these 3-level homes. Now, certainly that helps a bit, but not for the people that want to upgrade. So if you bought a home for $1 million or looking at $1 million home, by the end of the year, it could possibly be at $1,050,000 or more. Not only is it more expensive, but if interest rates climb, that will add further to your mortgage payments. In fact, increases in interest rates have a more devastating effect on affordability rather than price appreciation, as we will see later on. I think suffice it to say, we're going into 2021 with a healthy expectations for home price appreciation as we go forward. Let's look at home builders or new home builds and see what's going on there. Mark Fleming from First American says this, quote, "Despite the best intentions of home builders to provide more housing inventory, the big shortage in housing supply will continue into 2021 and likely keep home price appreciation flying high," unquote. So we know builders are actually building. We've talked about the Builder Confidence Index, the amount of housing starts that are happening across the country, those being well above where they were a year ago. And all that's going to bring back more inventory into the market. But the challenges in inventory, certainly on the first half of this year, are expected to persist and keep that upward pressure on home prices across the country. Now, for the second half of the year, Realtor.com came out with this, and they said this, quote, "The bright spot for buyers is that more homes are likely to become available in the last 6 months of 2021. Unquote. FYI, this is on a national level. While I certainly believe that we will have a bit more inventory to come, it will not turn the tide in making this into a buyer's market or even an equilibrium for our local market. So as we go throughout the year, expect more inventory to go on the market in the second half of the year as opposed to the first half of the year. And again, it's because of the expectations from builders having more homes available, to go out and sell. Also, as the pandemic, as we get a little bit better handle on this, and with the vaccine, it will add that to that recovery effort. And people feeling safer to go out and do that, list their homes for sale, and the things that contributed to people not doing that in 2020. And so if we think about that, that's the bright spot that Realtor.com is talking about. The second half of the year being stronger than the first half. Now, a lot of that's going to depend ultimately on economic recovery. And I think that's the question on a lot of people's mind. It was just a few short months ago where we were talking about the comparison to the Great Recession and even the Great Depression relative to unemployment. A lot of people are saying, hey, this is going to be worse than the Great Recession or the Great Depression. And if you watch my videos, by the way, subscribe, share, and like this video. We talked about this slide before. The more depth, the less length slide. I've got an update on that here. Where we are right now relative to unemployment. You see there in yellow, that's the actual unemployment drop. And we know we hit almost 15% unemployment in this country, but for a very short time. And I certainly don't want to minimize those that were affected by that, but nowhere near the length of unemployment. A lot of depth there, but then we see that V recovery in unemployment there. That's happened. According to the Wall Street Journal and the Fed, we show both of those right here in blue and in green. Somewhere between 3 and 5 years to get back to where we started in this country before that pandemic. You can see those actual projections right here going into 2021, 2022, and 2023 where we'll be. And you see this slight decrease in unemployment as time goes on. But no doubt, people need to get back to work. We want everybody that's not at work, that's looking for a job, to have a job, and certainly I want to see those folks get back to where they were. Right now, 6.7% unemployment in this country is great. Now, I'm not saying that that's all good, but certainly not the high of 15% like we experienced towards the middle of last year. The other thing that I think is important for us to keep in mind, coming from the policy center at the Urban Institute, it says that renters are disproportionately hurt by this crisis. Let's remember this as we go through the year. A greater share of renters lost their jobs. That meant using savings that could have been used for a down payment and falling behind on bills, which will hurt their credit and make it even more difficult for them to be future homeowners. Now let's talk about the F word. No, not that word. Forbearance. The big question that's going to continue to be around is what's happening with forbearance. Now, I've stayed on top of this because this is a hot topic and one a lot of home buyers are actually banking on to crash the market. Here's what I know from the data. Out of 2.7 million homeowners, 58% said they will resume their mortgage payments and stay in their home for at least a year. That's 1.7 million individuals. So the overwhelming majority will continue on and will be in their homes and will be largely unaffected. 24% said they will list their home within 1 year of exiting forbearance. That's 648,000 individuals and families in that bucket. 18% will receive a foreclosure notice within a year of exiting forbearance, which is around 400,000. I think this point right here is an important point that we want to look at and why we still need to talk about forbearance. What are your options right now if you are in this bucket? That's something that needs to be worked out. The other thing that's a reality of where we stand today is that Treasury rates have been moving up since the election according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. But mortgage rates have kept going down. That's because the federal government is pinning down mortgage rates by all the action that they're taking into the secondary bond market. The reality of seeing mortgage rates going up will eventually happen. It's just a matter of time. Now, I'm not sitting here trying to forecast mortgage rates, but the outlook as the economy improves is that rates will rise. I think that as we look into this year and we look into 2022, we have to say this, okay, what's gonna happen here? And we're calling for home price appreciation as well as mortgage rates to rise. Certainly, we think from what we see from experts is that we will be in a good mortgage environment, but they're definitely going to go up. Take a look at this calculation based upon where interest rates are today and where with appreciation and interest rates a year from now where could we be potentially? And that's the visual right here. Today, we take a $300,000 mortgage as an example and an average 30-year fix of 2.7%. That principal and interest payment is around $1,200. If we take the 2021 fourth quarter estimate according to Realtor.com of appreciation and their interest rate forecasts 5.7% appreciation and a 3.4% interest rate, that mortgage now is $317,000. That principal and interest payment is $1,400, a difference of almost $200. That's a shock to a lot of people when you look at that. Now let's put this in our local market. 1 million home today at 2.7 interest rates. The monthly on that right now is around $3,300. That's only principal and interest. Looking ahead at a 5.7% appreciation and a 3.4% interest rate, you are now looking at a $3,700 monthly payment. That's a difference of $433. Just be aware of this. You know, people will tell me they will wait. And sometimes I want to say, wait for what? For higher prices? For higher interest rates? Now, when you look at 3.4% 30-year fixed rate mortgage, that's certainly a great rate historically speaking. But when you're coming out of 2.7% as the average 30-year fix right now, that's a big shock for people and it's real. Again, I'm not saying that this scenario is absolutely going to happen, but it could happen. And I think that's why right now is still a great time to buy a house. The value of home ownership and what equity has meant to people over the last year has been tremendous. I'll wrap this up by talking about our regional Bay Area market. You know, with all the talk of people leaving the state, companies leaving the state, natural disasters, crappy governance, high tax rate, and just throw in everything that you can say bad about California in the news right now. The reality is that we are nowhere near close to a tipping point where California is imploding. Demand for housing, especially in the East Bay, will remain high as more and more people are wanting to move away from metro areas to have more space. Prices might slow down a bit, but not because of lack of demand, but because of affordability if interest rates do climb back up. But the American dream of home ownership remains strong. You know, home ownership no doubt has made a difference in the past year and will continue to make a difference going forward. All the reasons that people buy homes, from family situations to real life events, things that are happening in their lives, I think we're in one of the best times to buy a house. Have a great day.